Are you struggling to like some of your students? Do you suspect that they, I don't know, hate your guts maybe? Well, you can change that. Okay? Learn to make your classroom a happy place where both you and your students love to be. Go ahead and watch part 1 of Building an Effective Classroom Culture, Relationships, right now. Okay, so building relationships, as I mentioned in the other video on the simple formula to high achievement, relationships is the number one factor, the number one thing you can do to move your students toward high achievement by building the classroom culture. Okay, so I have identified 5 key pieces to 5 tips, I would say, to building a strong classroom culture among high-risk learners. Number 1 is one-on-one. This is what I mentioned also in the other video, that relationships are built one-on-one. Nobody builds a relationship with a whole group of people. That's something else. That's like their thoughts toward you and things like that. But you need to find a way with your high-risk learners to have a relationship with each learner in your classroom. Okay, you got to find a way. I know you can't, there's a lot of kids and there's only one of you, but there are many techniques that you could do, such as tapping their desk as you walk by, coming to tell them a quiet comment. It's very important to remember and be very sensitive whenever you're talking one-on-one with the student, because that's what really matters. You know, sometimes the whole class or the whole hallway, the whole grade is getting loud. You might have to, you know, okay, we need to settle down in this room. You know, you pull out that teacher authority voice. But then when you're one-on-one, you know, we need to settle down in this room. There's entirely too much noise going on. Okay, Carlos, are you stuck? Did you need help with number 1? You know, you can go back in there, and then, but you're gentle, you're kind, always kind. You're kind with the whole group too, but specifically when you're one-on-one with the student. And that's how you build up that routine. Because when you have kind of a stern look with the whole group, nobody's taking that personally. But when you're just talking to that one student, everything you say is just about them. So build that one-on-one. Always be very sensitive when you are having that direct relationship. Okay, number 2, key or tip for building strong relationships with high-risk learners is student choice. Find times in your day, find times in your lesson plan when you allow students to make a choice, okay? It could be that you were going to have partner work today for one of your assignments, and some kids, oh, can't we work in a group? Oh, y'all want to work in groups? Yeah, we want to. Okay, but you got to be doing the work, you know, so find that way. If you can find a flexible way, don't let them just overturn your whole lesson, right? But if you can find a way for them to work with their group that day instead of partners, and it will work, then give it to them. You got to throw them something every once in a while. Take their suggestions, you know, even, you know, you're writing with an orange marker and so we can't read that. Oh, really? Oh, let me switch. Let me get your dark blue marker out, you know, because what you're doing is you are allowing them to have a voice. And whenever you can make it more student-centered and less teacher-centered, you let them kind of take some of the ownership. They get some skin in the game. They feel, and when they get to choose, they feel like they changed it and now they're working in a group instead of partners. They're going to invest their time. They're going to try hard on that assignment because they feel like they chose it, right? You can even play with that a little bit. Even if you were planning to let them do group work, but they didn't know that yet. And can we do groups? Oh, really? Okay, but I'm not sure. You're going to do a good job in your groups, or you're going to play around? Oh, I do a good job, Miss Fernando. Okay, we'll do groups. You know, you might have had that planned all along, but you want them to believe, really give them, you know, choice and suggestions, but you also take every opportunity you can to make them know that their voice matters, and you're there for teaching them, but also for them to choose and to have joy as much as possible, okay? Number 3 is to use peer tutoring. You don't have to use peer tutoring all the time. Be cautious about it, and make sure you know that those students are not doing your job for you. You can't get your smart, gifted kids to do all the teaching for you, and they didn't get it when you taught it, so now you're going to put them, because I've seen kids get tired of that, right? Especially if the other teachers are also using it to do that. You don't want them to feel used. It's not their job. The point for doing peer tutoring is like twofold. One, it really helps them learn better when they're trying to explain it to someone else. So that is a way to get your highest learners to actually a higher level of, you know, the taxonomy, because they are actually teaching someone else. It's a very high level of comprehension they need to have to be able to do that. So you are helping them by having them do that. The second thing is relationships. That's a big one. And sometimes, you know, I've heard teachers say kid speak works better than teacher speak. Sometimes those kids will have a better way of communicating with each other, but they get to build a relationship. And whenever they get to talk to their peers or their friends, that is a positive thing in your classroom. It's another reason they're going to want to come to school tomorrow, because they didn't just sit there by themselves being stuck. And then there was only one of you and there's 25 kids. If you've got 5 or 6 lost kids, it's going to take you a while to get from place to place. So using those friends to help them, first of all, they want to do it. Second of all, they get to work with their friends. Lots of reasons, but do that as much as you can without wearing those peer tutors out. The other thing is, some of the kids who are struggling with your content area, they have other strengths. Everybody has strengths. You know, I had a kid, I remember one time he was a senior and he was really struggling. I was teaching Spanish for a little while. And he's like, I don't get Spanish. He didn't get Spanish. And so he was really struggling with the content. But one time I had, what did I have? A camera. I had a camera or something that wasn't working. He's like, oh, I'll fix that for you. And he took that thing apart and he put it together, and like I was, oh my gosh. And so he had that really good skill. He had a huge skill there, even though the content was hard. So don't be confused and think just because they're struggling to read or they're struggling to do math that they're limited in every way. They're not, you know, they're for sure not. They have strengths. One year we also had students, well, a lot of years now, but some students coming lately. When I was teaching 5th grade, they did not have, maybe they didn't know they couldn't read, they couldn't combine words, or they were a very slow reader. And so if you're a reading teacher, there's not a lot of opportunity in that class for that student to shine in front of his peers for the relationship. But I had this kid one year, and for some reason, it was before everybody had Chromebooks in the classroom, and we were like the first school to have them. And a very good district, because they sent them to the high-risk schools first. They prioritized those high-risk learners, so I was very lucky to be there, blessed to be there. So anyway, we had one kid, and for some reason he figured out how to get to Google Classroom really fast, and he knew how to do the technology stuff just because he paid attention. And so I'll say, oh, who's stuck? Raise your hand. And there's only one of me. Say, Antonio, can you come help this table? Oh, he runs over there and helps, and he was like the tech guy for like the rest of the year, just because he paid attention. And I heard somebody recently say on another video, what you appreciate appreciates, meaning whatever you praise and appreciate goes up, it appreciates. And so I would praise that student, and everybody knew he was good at tech, so he really made sure to know what he was doing on tech, and he really was helpful. Okay, so use peer tutors for wherever you can. Get those kids who are struggling. Make sure you find one of their strengths that they can use to shine in front of their peers, so that the peers don't get the wrong idea that that's a good for nothing kid, or that that's a dumb kid, or things that they're going to jump to conclusions just because they never see that student in their strength area. Okay. Fourth is to use morning meetings. Okay, there's a Momentous Institute, and I know that they're a big force for morning meetings. I don't know if they're the originator of it, but they definitely have those meetings built into their systems. But there's a lot of different variations of it. Morning meetings, I can make a more detailed video, but it gives the kids all a chance to speak. Okay, you will have a particular question for each student. You'll have a limited time, but every kid can check in with their emotional thermometer to kind of give you a quick read on how they're feeling. Very important in a high-risk environment, because you don't know what they came from. You don't really know if they slept last night. You don't know if they got a shower. You don't know what happened on the way to school or in the morning or the night before. So giving them a chance to just show you what they're feeling, real quick read, is very helpful to get started in the morning, because the more you can identify that and release that, the less it's going to come out during the day in your lessons, because that's a priority. They're there to learn, okay? And it can't be all about the drama. So that gives them a little release. It gives them a chance to bond. It gives opportunity for kids to thank each other, okay? So you have the morning meeting. It sets up your whole day, but you got to do it with consistency. And then there's also, you call them family meetings. Whenever there's an issue, say, okay, guys, we got to talk. Family meeting, come on. And you take a 5-minute, that 5 minutes, you might have to take it out, but you'll get it back tenfold when you address the problem before it becomes an issue in your classroom. Okay, another component is the closing circle. I was guilty of missing that one often, because that one's so easy to get dropped, because you're rushing at the end of the day and take this thing home and don't forget this, and you're rushing to finish your lesson. And so I always think the morning meeting was more important, because it sets the tone for your day. But in reflection, the closing circle, that is the idea that they're leaving with, and that they take home and they sleep on it, and that's in their head when they think about going to school the next day or the next year. So it's like the impression that stays with them and you. So the closing circle is arguably, it might even be more important than the morning meeting. Who knows? But I do know that's the one that's likely to get dropped off. So do make an effort, even if it's just for a few minutes at the end of the day, to have closure. You know, everybody's going home happy, everybody's going home feeling validated, and that everything's okay and it's your safe place. Okay. The fifth key to building relationships in your classroom is to remember that you are not the mama or the papa. You need to know exactly what is the nature of your relationship with the students. You have a teacher-student relationship. You're not their friend. You're not their mama. Maybe you're the coach. You can think of yourself, I like the coach mentality. You're the coach and they're the students. What is the difference between all of those levels? You've got familiarity, and then you've got authority and responsibility. And that's kind of the distinguishing factor between all of those. So you got to remember that you're not their friend. You're not texting the kids and, you know, doing those things that are too familiar. They shouldn't feel comfortable enough to cuss in front of you or do things like that, because you do have some level of authority and responsibility for them. So that changes that dynamic. You shouldn't be their friend exactly like that. They can be comfortable with you. They can trust you. They can confide in you and tell you personal things that they need your help with, things like that. But they're not telling you, you know, their boyfriend crush and, you know, those things like that, or on that level. And they're not comfortable, you know, with doing certain things in front of you that they would do in front of their friends. Okay. Second, you're not their mama or their papa, because the main difference there is the types of things that you deal with. Okay, if you come home, if you're in tears and you're crying, there's been a crisis, and you go home, your mom might be able to say, okay, well, let's just sit down and talk right now, and they might put dinner off for an hour or two, or they might put down the vacuum or whatever they're doing at home to address your needs right now, because that is the most important thing. You know, that they're your parent. They can put everything else aside for your well-being. And yes, well-being is important, but in the classroom, you cannot get into that habit where somebody's having a crisis and they're going to cry. So you're going to sideline, you're going to put aside your instruction and deal with their issue. You can't do that in a classroom. And if you do that with any kind of regularity, you're going to sidetrack your whole plan to meet your goals. You know, you're going to interfere with that rigor side. It's not only about positivity. It's not only about that one student. It's about building the culture and the climate for all students and maintaining that rigor side. And that's where people kind of get sidetracked, as they become a little too familiar, or they start to put feelings ahead of everything to try to make sure everybody feels taken care of, and they should feel taken care of, but they're not. That's not the crux of everything you're doing in there, okay? So it's not the house, it's not mom and dad. You're also not their moral authority. You're their teacher. Sometimes you are the one teaching them morality, but that's not your place. That's not your, you're not the highest authority there, right? You're going to teach them how to be a good person and how to not be a mean kid, right? But at home, the parent gets to decide what is their religious practice, what is their religious beliefs, what type of morality are they teaching their kids. You're not the religious leader and the moral person there. There's a higher authority in that, okay? So that's where you have to know your place. It's a teacher-student relationship or coach-student relationship, not parent-child, and definitely not friend-friend, okay? Because you have to be responsible for them and you're their authority, okay? So let's review the 5 keys, 5 steps to building strong relationships in a high-risk environment. Number 1, remember to build a one-on-one relationship with every student you have. Number 2, allow student choice or student suggestions whenever you can. 3, utilize peer tutors as much as you can without throwing off the course of the lesson. 4th, hold some kind of regular meeting, such as a morning meeting, closing circle. And 5th, remember to have the right relationship with the students, not the mama, not the papa, teacher-student, coach-student. Okay, so those are the 5 keys or levers to building strong relationships. I can go into more detail on any one of those items. As I said before, it's like Russian dolls. The more I talk about the big picture, the more I can get more and more specific into the nuts and bolts. So if you'd like more detail on any of those, please put a note in the comment section below, or any topic really that you would like me to make a video on, so that I can help you more. Okay. If this video has added any value, please click the thumbs up so I will know that it was helpful to you or effective, as well as subscribe if you want to be notified of my future videos. And I would like to make sure to meet the needs that you have, because I know that this is a difficult field. If you are teaching high-risk learners, I want to thank you for your dedication. I know there are hard days. I know there are big issues and many factors. And teachers, sadly, are leaving education often because they don't know how to make it better. They feel their hands are tied to changing their classroom or their school culture. So I hope you do not give up. I hope you hang in there. I thank you for everything you have, especially if you have a calling to work with these high needs students like I do. Please keep trying and keep watching my videos and tell me what you need, because I'm here to motivate and support you. Okay, do check out the other videos. Again, this is one in a series of videos on building your classroom culture. Simple formula to high achievement. Don't forget to check out that video, which will give you a large umbrella. Okay, this has been Flip Your Classroom, where we move high-risk learners to high achievement. I will see you in the next video.